Sir, we now request you to address the gathering.
Good morning to all of you. Dr. S.V. Balasubramanian, Chairman, the Instiute Dais. I'm a very informal person. I don't have a speech ready to say. I've come to this place without knowing anything about it, but I'm very impressed with what I have seen so far from yesterday evening to today morning. So a lot of ideas come to my mind. Of course, there's not much time to talk about all of those. But I thought I would do two things. One is to share some of the experience of my own life, especially for students. And second, certain things that my organization is involved with. Let me first start with the organization part because that is easy to say. So the organization that I'm heading right now, TIFAC, Technology Vision 2020, was developed by this organization way back in 95, 96, about 20 years back. That time Dr. Kalam used to be our chairman, and Dr. Y.S. Rajan was the executive director in my position. Dr. Y.S. Rajan is in the board of this organization. That document was prepared in 95, 96. There's a book written by Dr. Kalam and Y.S. Rajan on that, called India Vision 2020, that dreamed of a developed India by 2020. Now we have come out with a new document, which is Technology Vision 2035. So our task is to look ahead, 20 years ahead of time, as to where we want to be. The one very important difference with the Technology Vision 2020 document and Technology Vision 2035 document is that the Technology Vision 2020 document was for India. Technology Vision 2035 document is for Indians. So there's a difference between, we're focusing more on life of citizens and not simply developing country, but focusing each person's happiness is very important. So we need to work on quality of life of each individual human being in the country. That is what we are focusing this time. So there's a major difference in the way we are looking at how we should be progressing ahead. So we have tried to capture young minds, their aspirations, where do they want to be next 20 years and so. So this is the work we are about to release. So I thought I'll just mention about that. The second point that I want to mention is that we have been supporting innovation in its various forms. And one of the points that I would like to mention is that innovations come from real-life problems. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. The real-life problems, because they don't come from Google search. Most of the time when we talk to students that go and do some work, they start to do Google search. Actually, the problems come from around us, where we are working, in our family, in neighborhood. We need to look at real problems of society and nation and focus on them. Innovation comes from there. To support innovations, we have 3 programs. One is by helping in filing patents. You'll be surprised to know for 20 years, our organization, through funding from the Department of Science and Technology, files patents free of cost for all academic institutes, whether private, whether government funded, as well as all government R&D institutes. It's all free of cost. All the rights remain with the institute, the innovator. We file patents in India and abroad. We maintain them as well. So this is a facility that we have created for 20 years. We have a separate patent facilitation cell. It's been going on for all that time. So I request all of you to take advantage of this. There can be nothing better than this, where you are given everything free and there's nothing in return that you are being asked for. So this is one thing that you must take advantage of that. We have 2 other programs, one called TRIMA program, which helps you in transferring technology if you don't want to take it forward yourself, so that it can be commercialized by somebody else. A third program that we have, Srijan program, where we actually support innovation for scaling up by giving soft loan up to 1 crore rupees right now. These are the 3 programs for taking innovation forward. The second part that I have started now, these programs are running. The only thing I'm trying to do is that to synergize these programs into each other. Second thing I've started, something close to my heart, is trying to breed innovators. So most of the programs that we have had, where the innovation takes place, after that we start the process. But it's more important to actually breed our innovators, our young mind, how they can innovate. So we are working on 2 programs. One of them we have already launched, and the second one we're working on. One of them is supporting some kind of innovation lab. We have not given a name, but what it means is that hardware-based innovation should be as easy to do as software-based innovation. So you see all the startup companies in India, typically, they work on software-based innovations, and all the startup companies, large number of them are IT-enabled services, including my own son-in-law, who has a startup company on this. But For manufacturing innovations to take place, for India to move forward, we must do hardware-based innovations. For that, if you look at MIT, there's the MIT Fab Lab concept, along with combination of 3D printing. It is today possible to make hardware-based, from ideas to prototype very easily. So we are working on this scheme. Hopefully we'll launch it very shortly. The second part of this scheme, which was to come later, but we have already launched that, is what we are calling MSME internship program. MSME internship program is where we found that the students do not want to go into small industries because they prefer labels on their CV of some big name. But they don't want to go to small industries because they think it's not worthwhile. But we found that it's very important to go to small industries because that's where you learn about real problems that industry faces. In the big companies, you're not allowed to go close. And even if you come up with some ideas, nobody will let you touch those things. So we have this MSME internship program. It's a two-phase program where we support the students in the first phase. For example, you could go between third and fourth year summer, spend about 8 weeks in a small industry, and then come back, and the problems that you have seen, you can come out with possible solutions. If you like those, then we support you in the second phase, where you go and spend, for example, your BTech final year project. You can spend 4 to 6 months and develop the solutions that you have identified for the problems that you identified. You develop the solutions. And we give some amount of development money. We also give some fellowship. This scheme we have already launched. 5 institutes we have selected. Each institute, the 30 students that we support in the first phase. Very close by, PSG College Coimbatore was one of them selected. And there are others, but the nearest one is PSG College Coimbatore. The 30 students that we support need not be from that same organization. They could be from any other organization who is willing to work. But it has to be done in partnership with the industrial cluster. So when the institutes applied to us, we looked at whether they already have an arrangement with the industrial partner. I'm glad to say that 2-3 weeks back, I was in Coimbatore, and Codesia, the local district industry association, came forward and said that you support 30, we'll support 200 students. So they have scaled it up. What my organization can do is to support a very small number of students, like 150 students. I was very grateful that looking at the industry, which is coming forward saying that, okay, we'll take this idea forward, we'll support much more than what you're doing. Maharashtra government saying that we'll support much more than what you're doing. So slowly, what I personally want, that 10,000 or 20,000 students should be going into each summer into small industry that is going to convert the industry as well. It will get the benefit of the young mind. At the same time, the students learn from real problems, and there's a lot of potential of innovation that will come forward. So I urge all of you to look into this aspect. It's not the scheme that is important, it's the idea that is important, that the students must go into things. And this organization, I feel, is already doing some of this, but if we can get more and more young people to work on industrial problem, that will be very. So this is something that I thought I'll share with you. We have other things that I'll not talk about it. Let me come back to my own experience. Fortunately, I've had the fortune of being in very good educational organization, starting from my school days to college to university. As was mentioned, that I was one of the best universities in the world, recognized University of California, Berkeley. Berkeley is recognized for its mind. It's always, there's a DNA, there's a difference. The difference comes from the fact that we need to look at what gives us happiness. When I was a student, I was always determined that I'm going to be into research field. Today, when I look at my students, I found that they were always not sure what they wanted to do. So they will try to prepare, do CAT exam, they'll give GRE, they'll look for a job, everything they wanted to do. Because they were never sure what they want to do. So they kept postponing the decision till the end, when finally they have to make a choice, one of the others. I was always determined that I will only decide to do that one thing. I never gave 2 exams, always gave only 1 exam, whichever I wanted to do. Thankfully, I was successful in each of this. But that means I never divided my mind into multiple things, because when you try to do that, you are not able to do anything. So what is important is to, whatever you do, do it well, otherwise don't do it. There's no point trying to do something with half mind. So we must decide early on what gives us happiness. I have talked to many people. We consider, as was mentioned just now by Mr. Vijay Kumar, that IIT students we consider the best. Okay. The next, if you go by typical mindset, is that should go to IIM. Okay. I was associated with IIM Ahmedabad for a long time. So people go to IIT, then go to IIM, and then they get a job in one of the MNCs. And then you ask them, are you happy? They said, no, we are not happy. So what are we changing? We're changing whose dream? Not our dream. We're changing somebody else's dream. We need to change our dream. We need to understand what is our dream. Unfortunately, we don't like to dream. We must dream, and we must follow our dream. That is very important. So I followed my dream. It has meant that I had to give up what a society would understand to be a success criteria. If I, as a faculty member, a scientist, people look at how many publications you have, 100, 200, 500. I said, I'm not going to worry about it. When I came back to India, I said that the first thing I did was that I went to US. After a PhD, immediately I came back to, within 1 week I was in India. Okay. At that time, coming back in '86, it was considered madness. Okay. In fact, one of the Hindi dailies has written an article on me, it says my pagal in Hindi, it means I am mad. Okay. I said that I am mad because I follow my passion. I must be mad about my passion. So I was in US, but immediately I came back after a PhD and said that I'm not going to worry about publications and papers. I'm going to focus on what I want to do. At that time, it was nuclear fusion. So when I was in my college, I was working on universe. I was working on black holes. I spent some time with very famous scientist, Dr. Jayant Vishnu Narlikar, working on black holes. When I went to US to do my PhD, from universe, I came to nuclear fusion. As nuclear fusion, if you understand, it is like replicating sun on earth, so basically bringing sun on earth. Mr. Vijay Kumar mentioned about Hanuman. I am real Hanuman because we're trying to bring sun on earth. You know, in our mythology, Hanuman had captured sun. That is what he said. So we are real Hanumans. We're trying to bring sun on earth. So I moved from universe to sun. Then when I was in university, I was working on moon mission of India. So from universe to sun to moon. And then I started to work on earth. I started to work on agriculture. I started to work on wildlife. And then I moved to body. As was mentioned that I worked on disability sector. How did I get into this? It was because of students. 2 girls from Hyderabad. They wanted to do a project. We had a requirement. The second year, every student has to do a design project, which was a no pressure project. That means 1 credit point, pass, not pass. It's a 1-year thing. You do it when you get time. You don't have to be pressurized about doing it. And we wanted to be socially relevant. The 2 girls from Hyderabad, I take their name always, Ramya and Pallavi. We were in Ahmedabad. They went to Ahmedabad Blind People Association. Then when they went to Hyderabad for vacation, in the newspaper, they saw a news article which said that a girl from Chennai, Bhavana, she passed class 10th. Of course, this is not a news. Lakhs of people passed class 10th. The reason it was news, because she had cerebral palsy. She cannot speak, she cannot move her finger properly. In that condition, she passed class 10th. That was the reason why it was news. These 2 girls that went to Chennai to meet this girl, to see how she functions, how she studies, how she has entertainment. And then they came back to me and explained to me what she does, how she does, and so on. So I said that, all right, let's try to make her life a little better than what she has. So, for example, to watch TV, she could not change the volume and the channel. She cannot press a remote control button. So I said that, all right, let's do something which can allow her to change both the volume and the channel. So typically, when we sit in the front of TV, we have a remote control. And the thing that we change our volume and channel, because change the channel, you will find the volume changes, or a phone call comes, you'll try to reduce the volume and so on. And of course, if you're sitting in the living room with a shared TV, we fight with each other who controls the remote. So imagine the condition of a person who is not able to, even if the control is in hand, he or she cannot press the remote control button. So I said, all right, she has little movement of hand. Can I use her hand gesture to operate TV? So if her hand goes up, TV channel goes up, TV channel goes down, volume goes up. So through 1 batch of students to 2nd batch of students, we made it possible that TV started to work through hand gesture. Then we said that why only TV, why not other things? The light, fan, the computer, air conditioner, music system, whatever the person wants to control in the room, it should be possible to do that. So we made all that possible. Then when we started to give it to users, the people who came to us who said that I do not have hand, I have hand, but there's no movement, I don't have voice, Can you help me? So we said that let's make sure that everything is possible, whatever be the condition of the person. So I saw a slogan in one of the schools that I'm associated with. It said, count the ability, not the disability. Count the ability, not the disability. Rather than saying that this person's hand does not work, or leg doesn't work, or is not able to speak, let's look at the positive aspect of the ability of the person rather than disability. Let's focus on the ability, not the disability. So I said that does not matter what the ability, let's make it possible. So whether it was due to hand movement, leg movement, head movement, voice, if nothing else, thoughts, facial expressions, muscle movement, I made it possible that each one of these we should be able to use to make persons with disability functional. And through this, I got involved with the brain because very close here in Coimbatore, I am hoping that I will be able to meet the person. I was talking to faculty members yesterday. I said the same thing. Mr. Suresh is there, who had the best education from IIM Ahmedabad, an MBA, finance wizard. At the age of 32, in 1999, he suffered a brain stem stroke. When he suffered that stroke, he lost his voice, he lost his hand movement, he lost his leg movement. He can see, he can hear, but he could not communicate. The only way he could communicate was blink of his eyes. He was in that condition for 13 years, from 1999 to 2012. When I came in touch through another very famous person, Rashmi Bansal, who was his classmate in IIM Ahmedabad. She had come to Coimbatore. In that condition, they had set up a trust, the classmates of IIM Ahmedabad set up a trust for him so that he could be supported financially. She had come to Coimbatore, she met him, and from Coimbatore airport, she called me saying that I just met my classmate Suresh. He's in a very bad condition. I don't know how I can help. We have helped financially, but we want to improve the life. Maybe you can do something. So then I got in touch with Suresh's wife, Jaya, and we discussed what is his condition. And then 3 years back, I remember it was March 13, 2012, that we gave him something which will capture his head movement, which will capture his brain waves, and use his blink of eyes in head movement to make him operate computer. So he started to type on computer, and you were surprised to know what he typed for the first time after 13 years. It was his wife's name, Jaya. He wrote those 4 letters, J-A-Y-A. It took him 3 to 4 minutes. In fact, when I asked this question, that if you were in this situation, what would you write? Typically, people say, I'll write my name, I'll thank God, or things like that. But in Suresh's case, it was his wife, Jaya's name, that he wrote. To write those 4 letters was not so easy, because he could not keep his head concentrated. His head was shaking. But he took 3 to 4 minutes, but slowly he learned. He found that if there's nobody else around, if he's able to focus better, then he can write. And he's been writing blogs since, using this for a long time. And about 1 year back, I had come to meet him. I found that the device had broken somehow with taping it and so on. They were working. So thanks to Tirupur industry, I said that, can you donate this thing? They willingly donated. So he's been using this today. I'm again hoping that I'll be able to go and meet him. So through this, then I got involved with the brain. So starting from universe, I was working on black holes, to sun, to moon, to earth, to body, I have got into brain. So from outer cosmos to inner cosmos, the brain holds the key to everything that human being has. So we need to look back at brain, and just 1.5 months back. The reason I'm here, because Mr. Vyas attended our annual function, our TIFAC Foundation Day, where we talked about the future of brain, where there's a race between mind and machine. The computers are moving ahead. Next 10 years, we're likely to be more powerful than brain. And by 2050, we're likely to see a computer becoming $1,000 computer, becoming as powerful as all human beings' brain put together. 9 billion human brains put together. The computer would have the capability of $1,000, 50, 60,000 rupees would have the capability to be as powerful as all brain put together. What's going to happen then? Okay. Are going to computer takeovers, or something else will happen? Is it a scary thought? So we discussed all this, and Mr. Vyas thought that I must come here, and that's how I'm here. It was very interesting. Of course, my take on this is that just like the mobile phone and things like that have become extended part of our body, tomorrow we'll be able to use the resources that computer provides us to extend our brain in a bigger way, and we will have capabilities that we are not able to think today. Just like cloud computing, our brain will be able to draw on the resources from the computing world, from the brains of others, and slowly we will be able to advance to a much better stage of humankind. But finally, it's the happiness, the satisfaction of the human being that matters. So, learning from this, the one thing that I want to share with the students is that there's nothing more important than learning to learn. Learning to learn, because I'm working on brain or anything else, I never learned that in classroom. So today, learning to learn is the most important, because what you're learning is not going to stick you for next 20 or 30 years. In your career, you would be doing multiple kind of jobs. Each one needs you to learn afresh. You don't have to learn everything. You don't have to go back to again engineering college and say, I'm going to do a 4-year course in this. That's not possible. You need to be able to learn the minimum that gets you ahead. Today, the source of learning is multiple. The classroom is not the only one. You have the books, you have internet. So being able to utilize these to learn on your own is a very important part of learning. Anything else that you learn today, typically you learn for exam and forget about it. But that's not important. Important is that how you should be able to learn on your own, and that we must focus on, that learning. Second part that I've been always talking about is trying to work on real problems. I've talked about this, the MSM internship program we started has been because of that how do you look at real problems, try to solve the real problems for facing nation and society. I saw this campus has plenty of opportunity for this. For example, I understand there's a 10-acre organic agriculture farm. At my school, when I was the age of 10, we were actually required to work in agriculture. Each of us had a plot. We did woodwork, we did metalwork, everything we did by hand. Not only that, in the hostel that was called ashram, we did everything by hand. We cleaned all the toilets, we cleaned all the dishes, which means that we value dignity of labor. The mindset, today, our parents, each one of us is guilty of not allowing our children to work with hand in home. So if child starts to pick up a plate, the parents will stop them from picking up the plate, saying that this is not your job, this is somebody else's job. So what we are doing, we're creating a separation between hand and mind. And this is leading to the fact that we don't value dignity of laborers. It is leading to the fact that our hardware-based innovation is not taking place. Students feel it is dirty to work with hardware. Electronics people don't want to touch components. Everybody wants to go and sit in an air-conditioned room and work on computer keyboard. We need to change this mindset. I seek all your cooperation. I've been talking about this. I thought that the best way to do something like this is to have a slogan. And I'm calling it a one-in-one. That is, please spend 1 hour in 1 week working on things which we don't like doing, like cleaning dishes, cleaning house, or doing gardening, something which you work with the hands. So this one-in-one, please, parents, children, please work on this. Try to value dignity of labor, and then only you will value, and you will come up with problems. So if you look at field that is being worked upon, you'll find there are a number of problems that you can solve. So unless you relate yourself to real-life problems, this is not going to happen. So please look at this seriously. We are involved, TIFAC as an organization has involved with the ESDM sector, the electronic goods sector. We were asked to look at how we can enhance the export of that. If we continue like this, by 2020 it is said that we'll be importing $400 billion of electronic goods. Our export is only going to go up to maybe $70–80 billion. So there'll be deficit of more than $300 billion. Electronic goods will become #1 import item exceeding oil. Now, we were told that go and get technology from anywhere in the world and do technology infusion and try to enhance the export. I realized that it's not going to happen, because if I go to Samsung or Sony or LG or somebody and say that here is a mobile phone, can you give me the technology of making this? It's not going to work. I cannot take that technology even if they're willing to give, and for 15–20 years produce the same mobile. Because every day, every week, every month, a new model comes out. Innovation is key to this sector if we have to grow. And the hardware-based innovation comes if we are able to dirty our hands. That's where this innovation lab concept comes. So urging all the students, the parents, everybody to work with hands. Do not think that working with hands is bad. It's the mindset. We need to bring the hand and mind closer together. The last thing that I wanted to share was that we look at the reward system. What gives you reward? I talked about people going to IIT, IIM, and finally coming out and joining MNC, getting a fat salary. And you ask them, are you happy? They said, we are not happy. So you look for what gives you happiness. I found that when I was working with person with disability, I could put a smile on the face of a person. That was my reward. A smile on the face of the person was the reward. So you need to find your own thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. She has an MBA from the Indira Gandhi National Open University and has successfully served the Public Relations Department